Welcome to Unschooling Conversations. Today I am joined by Makeba, and in this episode we are going to talk about unravelling. It's going to be interesting. We'll see where it goes. I'm Heidi Steele. I'm a former teacher and unschooling parent to four always unschooled children who are happy living and learning as they go. I've been unschooling for over 13 years, and I offer support, resources and community for unschooling families at liveplaylearn.org. Welcome to today's guest. You are the first guest in the new season. We met at the Unschooling Summit very briefly. We were on a panel together, so we connected, and we're going to have a chat today. Makeba, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Makeba. I am a former doctor. I used to live in the UK, but about 6 years ago, we moved to the Bay Area in California for my husband's job. And so we've been living and learning here for the last 6 years. I don't know what else is there about me. Yeah, now I'm a full-time unschooler, so I don't work in medicine anymore. I also briefly worked in student mental health in the UK before we left. And yeah, so this is the first time that I've actually not worked, in these last 6 years, and I've been kind of full-time with the kids. And it's been a journey, as we're about to talk about. Lots of unraveling.
How many children do you have?
I have two. So my son is 12, and my daughter is going to be 10 in August.
So quite similar. So my youngest two are 10 and 13. So
okay, yeah,
it's probably similar ages. It's
yeah.
hard to say if they've got anything other than that in common, really, isn't it? Because unschooling is quite diverse, allows our children to be diverse. It was actually your suggestion to talk about this idea of unraveling, and how it's I think this is, it's great, but quite a deep topic, I think, for like the first in a new season. And I don't want people to be scared. Hopefully we can make it seem like an exciting part of unschooling. So what do you mean when you use the term unraveling? Because as I said, it was your kind of suggestion. So what does that mean to you?
For me, it was very much comes out of an image of one of my many phases and of like things that I like doing was knitting. So when I think of unraveling, I literally think of pulling on this thread. Like, you imagine you just knitted a jumper or a sweater, as they would say here, and you pull and you pull and you pull, and there's a little thread, and you're like, "Oh, what's that? Oh." And then if you're like me, you can't leave it alone. You're like, "Oh, okay, where does that go?" And you keep pulling and pulling, and then this whole thing, once you start pulling, it just keeps unraveling, and then you can end up like literally you just pull and the whole thing unravels, and then you're left with a bunch of yarn or a bunch of wool, and it's like, oh, I actually have to start again. That thing that I thought I'd made and completed and finished and tied up nicely with a bow is now a mess, and but a good mess, a mess that I wanted, that I pulled on voluntarily, and now I have to like make something else out of this. So that's kind of, I don't have like a definition, but that's the image that when I was thinking about unraveling, that's what came to mind.
I like that idea of voluntarily. Like we don't have to. We can leave things the way they are, or not the way they are, but we can raise a thought or a question, and we can put that away for another time if that seems too big or too challenging, or not for right now because our capacity is maybe not so great, or we've got other things going on. Like the idea that it's voluntary, I like that. I think that's probably quite important, and it's okay to kind of sit with stuff rather than like just sit with it partly unraveled for a bit and just not keep pulling.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that it's not even one thread. It's not, I guess it's not a jumper that's only one color. It's like, oh, it's one of those ones with patterns. And so there's a thread here and a thread there. And it's like, oh, and these link up and so it's like, oh, I liked that bit over there. I didn't want to unravel that bit. But if I'm pulling on this one, that one has to come unraveled. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Then I can't pull this one anymore, you know? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
what I think of. And
what
mm.
sort of things have you unraveled other than jumpers or sweaters if we're gonna be
I think like
transatlantic?
oh, I mean, so much, just everything, isn't it? Like, just I think we are, we're a black family. We are very neurodivergent. We have mi various mixtures of autism and ADHD. We are children of immigrants. We are now immigrants ourselves. We are vegan. I've been vegan since I was pregnant with my second, and now the whole family's vegan. So all these different things is not at all how I started out. I started out like, head girl, 3 degrees, a doctor, you know, a Christian, like all kinds of things. And now I'm not any of those things. And it's, you know, it's I don't know oh gosh, where would I have started? But some of the things, just the ideas that we were raised with. So the idea that school is necessary and that's the only way that you can be successful is by going to school. And I believed that and I did all the quote unquote right things and um, you know, just finish 1 degree. Oh, I should do another degree because that will look really good on my CV. And oh, let me just do that one as well. And I was so comfortable in academia. Like it was just, yeah, sure. It felt safe. It felt like if I do these things, I'll get the rewards and the promised rewards, And I don't know, I guess when you get there and you are working as a doctor or you're, doing night shifts for 7 nights in a row and you're doing all kinds of things in the emergency room, it's like, oh, is this actually what I thought it would be? I guess in some ways, yes, I loved being with patients and I loved the kind of thrill of the diagnostic chase of what could this be and what, that's great. But there were so many other things about it that weren't what I thought they would be at all. And the kind of the thing that I had no time for myself. It was work and then going home to sleep, and that was it. And then you're back, and then the constant sense of like not doing it right or missing something,
Mm.
you know. And it's life and death, and this is people's lives are in your hands. And I found that constantly stressful. And the way that I coped with it was to make sure that I missed nothing. So I was there early and I left late. And I, had my notepad full of like spare bits of paper and this and that. And what if this goes wrong? And so contingency plans for everything. And that it led to burnout. Like I was just absolutely exhausted. And I would cry on Sunday nights before going back to work. And that was the kind of sign that something needed to change. And when I remember kind of whispering to my husband one time, almost not whispering, but just like saying it really meekly, like, I'm not sure I want to be a doctor forever. Like I was so scared to say that. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. No, obviously, like this, yeah. And I was like, like, oh my God, I said it out loud. And then that was the first time I was like, oh, okay, well, that I didn't get in trouble. Like nobody told me off. But I was like, oh, okay. And then 2 years later, I finally left. So it took me that long to like, okay, well, what else could I do? And it was very scary because, when
Mhm.
you're on that track, everything is laid out for you. Like, you don't really need to even have like interviews for your next job because as long as you've ticked all the boxes and done all the things, you automatically get a job. A job is just given to you because you're in the training system. And it's like, oh, okay, your next rotation will be here. Your next rotation will be there. It's like, oh, great. Perfect. So I remember when I left medicine and then got another job, actually a month later, working at a university in student mental health. I was almost 30, and that's the first time I'd ever have a job interview, apart from the fact like working in the cinema when I was 18, but like, that didn't count. So like that was huge for me. And and I had massive like fear around, putting myself out there and just, having to present myself. And luckily I did get that job. It was fine and it was a great job. And I did that for 2 years before we moved.
Are you curious about unschooling and want to know more? Perhaps you're on the edge of starting this adventure, or maybe you've been doing this a while, but you're looking
for inspiration. After more than 13 years of unschooling 4 children and over 5 years supporting others on the same path, I have a vast library of resources that I'm happy to share with you for free, whatever stage of your journey you're in. You can check out the link in the description of the podcast, or you can head over to my website at liveplaylearn.org and look for the free resources tab. And there you will find lots of things to inspire you to keep living, learning, and playing together. I said that the wrong way round, didn't I? Anyway, it's also a great way to make sure that you don't miss an episode of the podcast, which we will get back to now.
So yeah, this idea that school is the only way and degrees and university is the only way that you can succeed. And I think I saw that anyway when I was at medical school. I would look around at other people who went to school with me and left, or, got a job straight away and didn't go to uni. Some of them had like houses and flats that they were buying, not renting. And I was like, oh, well, I was told that the only way to do this, the only way to be successful and get all those things that you're supposed to have and, tick off on the list of things that a successful adult has is to do that. And I was like, and so there was just suddenly lots of evidence around me that, oh, well, maybe that's not true. Maybe there's other ways to do things and be happy and be successful. And yeah. So let me think, what other ideas were challenged?
I wonder, so in
Hmm.
that in what you've just shared there, did that come first or did unschooling come first? Because
Oh,
like
that
for
came
me, I
first.
went for, I was a teacher and I went from teaching straight to unschooling, which
Yeah.
is a story in itself, or unschooling my children.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was like the education aspect was the first thing that went. Like we
Yeah.
just jumped straight into unschooling. And I guess if I think about my story, those things had been slowly being unpicked, like you say, like noticing here and there during my teaching career, which is what inspired me not to send my
Yeah.
children to school.
Yeah.
So those things had been slowly over time unraveling, seeing those things. But for me, the first thing that I really challenged was education, and schooling was the first thing that
Right.
I really started to go, oh, yes, this idea that, well, success doesn't have to be measured by how many GCSEs we have, and that
Mm.
doesn't necessarily or having a degree doesn't necessarily equate to having a job and being able to afford a house and everything
Mm.
being happy in inverted commas. So for
Mm.
me, that was the first thing that I really questioned really deeply, which then
Yeah.
in turn led to other things in my life that because like
Yeah.
you said at the beginning, you can't it's almost impossible to pick at one thread and it
Right.
not be interlinked with
Right.
a great many other
Other things. Yeah.
systems.
For me, I think that came first actually before education because there was just this assumption. My husband and I both went to quote unquote good schools, still public schools, but like good schools. Academic achievement was kind of expected and was the norm. And so we kind of just assumed that that's what our kids would do. And I remember early in our relationship, we would kind of argue in a joking way about, no, they should go to my school. No, they should go to my school. Like, about whose school, because we still lived in the same rough area as where we grew up. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, and then I think it was actually when we just had my son and just everything changed. And it's like, oh, you want me to what? You want me to like leave him in a place for like hours every day and not know what's happening? No, thanks. So that's when I started like pulling on other threads, and I kind of first ended up at Waldorf education. There were some things I liked about it, but then some big red flags for me that I didn't like about it. And kind of looked into, just quite strict rules that they had about when children should read and ideas about race that the founder of Rudolf Steiner had. I was like, oh no, oh, well, now I've read that, I can't
I'm
unread
nodding
that, but
quietly for
yes,
those that are
yeah.
listening on the
Yeah,
podcast. I'm
yeah.
yes.
So then I was like, okay, but then I think that was a gateway to looking at alternatives. And so by the time my son was about 1 or 1.5, I decided, oh no, we're probably going to home educate. And that was easy to say back then because everybody, we still had our NCT mother and baby group and everyone was still a baby and it was fine and you just say it. But then it's when it comes to like 4 and everyone's like, or even before that, people are putting their kids in preschool and whatever. And then it becomes real, oh, okay, we're actually going to not do that when everyone else is putting their kids in school. I remember there's a funny story when he was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3, and we had a childminder, and then the rest of the time we were kind of doing opposite shifts so that we could look after the kids. And my son, we found a nice forest school for him by this kind of childminder, but she also was like forest school trained, so she had about 3 or 4 kids that she looked after, and then they would go in the forest. And we went, like, she took us there to kind of see what kind of activities they do, and it was all very cute and sweet, and I was just like, oh, this is so nice. And then she had this piece of string around the border of the area where they were using in the woods, and I was like, oh well, how are you going to stop the kids from like running away? Because I had a runner, like my kid was a runner and an absconder, and she was like, oh, they won't run away, there's a piece of string there. And I was like, oh, you don't know my kid.
I have a runner. I have a runner, so I hear you. It's like, oh, you've not met my child.
You have no idea. She said, oh no, they won't go past it. We'll just tell them not to, and then they won't. I was like, oh, well, and then we pushed ahead because like, oh, well, I guess it's time. Everybody says it's time. This is when you should start, separating from your child. And then I just felt so uncomfortable. And it was the first time when I felt proud of myself afterwards, but I followed my gut. It was the night before he was due to start. And I just said, my husband and I were talking, I was like, we can't do this. It's not going to work. I just know it. Like, not in a, I'm scared to leave him kind of way, but this child will be running through the woods on his own and she'll spend all her time chasing him. So I called her and we'd already paid the deposit and everything. And we knew we were going to lose the deposit. And I just called, I said, I don't think it's going to work. And she was obviously disappointed and pissed off. But I remember when I put that phone down, I was like, oh, the weight that lifted from me. Like, that is the right decision. Like, this isn't going to work. And from then that was it. We were like, no, we know our kid, we know what he needs, and we're happy to be the ones doing it. So just this idea, that was another thing, I guess, that unraveled this idea that it's necessary to put you and your child through this kind of stress of separation because that's what you have to do. And the only underlying idea underneath that is that so that you can go to work, so that you can earn money, so that you can take part in the machine. When you pull on that thread, it's like, well, why do I have to do that? Well, why do I have to do that? Oh, because so that I can go to work. And no, it's okay. I'll go to work and then pay that money back that I earned in childcare. No, it's okay. I'll just do it myself. So
yeah,
that
I
was
definitely felt that.
Yeah.
When especially, I mean, I really, I had my 2 eldest I had within 20 months of each other. And then by the time my eldest reached compulsory school age, so when the point where we had to definitely say he's definitely not going to school, then I had my third as well. And the idea that I would swap, especially as I would be going to teach reception children, so age 4, so the kind of age group that my children were, and I would be going and doing that for other children, so that I could earn money, so that my children could be in childcare and be looked after by someone else who was effectively doing my job. Like, it just didn't make sense.
It doesn't make any
on
sense.
any level. And I didn't want them to. I didn't, that was, but I love what that phrase you used. I don't even know if you were aware you used it about like trusting your gut. And even though you probably picked that phone up knowing that you were going to lose that money and disappoint that person, that actually it wasn't about them anymore. It was, and not we feel so much pressure from those things. People talk about the money thing a lot. Like, well, you know, if I've paid, even in unschooling or home education, you know, I've paid for my child to do this for 6 weeks, but my child really doesn't want to go and it's really difficult, then I'm going to lose all that money. And like feeling the pressure of letting down the person that you've, you know, agreed
and
to
just,
do whatever it is and lose the money. And being able to actually trust ourselves and our children and say, and put all that to one side and say, this is better.
It's such a trope, isn't it? Of, oh yeah, it's when they're 4, they're 5, and that idea of, you know, you crying at the school gates and your kids crying, and it's like, no, leave them, mum, leave them, they'll be fine. Like, oh, that makes me so sad inside, you know, and they'll be crying for weeks and days, and then the teacher says, no, it's fine. As soon as you left, they were fine. And it's like, well, yeah, because they've had to shut down that part of themselves and like go into survival mode until you pick them up. Like, it's not, I didn't want to participate in that. And actually the through line to like even this week, this very week, I think it's always easier to do it, isn't it, when it's for your kids rather than for yourself. But this week, we were supposed to go to see Alvin Ailey is an amazing African American dance company that tours the world. They're based in New York, and they came here to the Bay Area, and I bought my tickets about 6 months ago for the kids, and it was a school time show, so it was like a shorter version. It was like an hour, and it's for school kids. So we're usually there with like thousands of other school kids who come with their class, but we can go as homeschoolers. And I was so looking forward to it. And you know, as I say, I booked it ages ago, and I have just been exhausted this week, like absolutely exhausted. And I made the decision, like, actually, I can't go. And I was gutted and I'm going to lose that money. But it's now easier having practiced, you know, for the kids to say, actually, no, their kids' needs go first. I'm now at the point I'm happy to say where I can also put my own needs first and be like, you're too tired, just relax. And God, again, the weight that lifted, I was like, oh, I don't have to. I know I paid that money, but I deserve to rest. I'm tired. I'm going to be annoyed and irritated and, you know, snapping at the kids probably if I force myself to go and get up early and get out of the house. And it's like, no, let's just have a nice, relaxed morning. The kids loved it. They were like, yep, great. You know, they were psyching themselves up to go because transitions can be tricky for them. But no, they were happy and I was happy. And I was like, yeah, great. It's because I've practiced. It's because I've been doing it since they were little, of like, you know, shoving down that voice that says you must, you should, everyone's expecting you to. It's like, no, I'll just, and don't get me wrong, it still happens. But I think I'm better able to talk it through and reason with myself and be like, no, this is what you need. Listen to your body. Yeah.
It's that impact that unschooling has on us. Like I love that idea of practicing on the children. Like it seems easier for us to apply those things to the children, and not for everybody. Like even that for some people can be a giant step and take a while. But then once we are in the swing of it and we've been doing it a few years, you kind of go, oh, hang on a minute. If my children, if I am like facilitating my children doing things that they enjoy and they're really curious about, well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll do something that I really want to do, that I've, you know, that feels good for me. Maybe I deserve to rest. Yes, if I'm taking care of my children's needs and they're, you know, able to have a break and rest and really lean into what their body needs, and when they need to take a break, maybe I can do that for me as well. I think it takes a little bit like you were saying about leaving the 4-year-old at school, you know, like that's you know, we experienced that really, really young, that suppressing our emotions, putting aside what we actually feel, not tending to our needs. And as adults, we've been living that a very long time. So it does take a very conscious effort and a long time to unravel those things as well, and to kind of really lean into, you know, what do I enjoy, what has someone else been telling me I should be doing all my life, and actually what are the things that really bring you know.
That's been huge. That's been a huge part of my journey these last 6 years. Now that I'm not working, it's like I had to go on this whole journey of what do I even like? What do I like? I don't know what I like. I've only been working and just doing, you know, doing things to cope with the stress of working, and like, you know, like, so what do I like? And it can be really simple things, like things that I know I like now, and I can easily say is I like chasing the sun around the house and sitting in sunny patches on the floor. You know, I love that. Like that makes me so happy when the afternoon sun comes in. That's my favorite, that kind of golden hour. It gets right into my bedroom on the third floor, and I just sit down on the floor, and oh my God, that makes me so happy. Being in bare feet makes me so happy. And I had to that's because I had a barefoot child, and I had these internalized ideas of you've got to have shoes on, you've got to have socks on, especially in the UK. It's not like California where it's warm and you can just easily be barefoot. But I had a kid who only recently has decided to start wearing clothes, like I'd say in the last year, you know, a very naked kid who would just be in underwear all day and bare feet and will go out to the playground and they take their shoes off. And I had to fight for a long time this idea of, oh, oh, your feet are gonna get dirty, you know. And it's like, yeah. And then you go home and you wash them and it's fine. And now I'm like, yeah, God, I love being in bare feet. I hardly wear socks, only if it's cold, you know. Yeah, just kind of embracing like those kind of sensory things, or just things like hobbies, things that I was told it was almost a waste of time, or not worth pursuing because it won't add anything to your CV, or it won't, you know, like art and music. I was a bit of an all-rounder at school, so I was good at science, I was good at art, I was good at music, did all those things, but the art and the music and the sports always had to take a back seat because that wasn't going to get me into medical school. Even though ironically it kind of does, because you kind of want to be seen as an all-rounder, but as soon as you get into medical school, all that stuff kind of just falls away because there's no time. So like now I sing in two choirs and I love it. And it's like, oh yeah, you know, come back to choir, and it's just made my life very rich in a lot of ways. Um, Being outside, just walking my dogs, you know, the weather here just makes it so much easier to go outside without it feeling like too much of a transition. And I think that's really helped our kids too, of not having to like bundle up and stop what you're doing, stop being warm, and then go out and be cold and or wet, or you know. So that's been great. So yeah, just a
It's
lot of
not a
that
great
kind of.
advert for the UK, is
No,
it?
it's not. It's not. And I
We should
came
all
back
go to
in
California.
November. I came back in
Oh,
November.
okay.
Like, oh God,
So
no, I
at the
can't.
time of recording, we are experiencing
Yeah.
some very, very beautiful weather
Oh,
over
you are?
here.
Oh, good. I'm happy
Yeah.
for
I
you.
mean, it's technically spring, but it feels a little bit more like summer, but without the
Ooh.
intense heat. Um,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
we're really enjoying it. And one of the things I really like is sitting outside in the morning before my children get up. That's one of the things I've realized I like, especially, well, actually, is I, I haven't made it all year through, but probably about 9 months I go and sit outside, whatever the weather, and it's covered area, and drink my tea in the morning. And I love it. I love listening to the birds. That's kind of actually my thing. I
Mm.
love just sitting and listening to the birds. Something else I discovered about myself when I probably became officially kind of a full-time mum and wasn't working at all um, outside of the home, is that I eat cooked food all the time. Like I don't
Mm.
eat cold food, and it
Mm.
was it, and it wasn't something I did consciously. It was just something that after like several weeks or months, I don't even know, I kind of
Yeah.
reflected on and went, oh, hang on, I don't I don't like eating salad. I haven't had a
Yeah.
salad for ages. And then I kind of went, oh, hang on a minute, I always eat cooked food. I eat cooked food like all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not that I
Wow.
can't eat cold food or anything like that, but if I'm preparing food for myself, my go-to is to make myself
Something warm
something
and cook.
warm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Lovely.
other thing I do that I absolutely love is I started going to a Zumba class, and I
Mm.
can't dance to save my life.
Doesn't
But
matter.
fortunately, this is the
Yeah.
most amazing class ever, and it happens to be in the village where I live, which is obviously perfect. And it's pay as you go, which is perfect for our unschooling
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it ticks so many boxes. And the first time I went, I thought, I just like that kind of whole dancing in the kitchen thing. I just realized I really enjoyed moving to music. And
Mm.
so this was available at our local village hall. And I thought, well, I'll try it. And if it turns out that this instructor is one of those, no, you have to get it right and work harder and all that kind of stuff, then I
Yeah.
won't go again. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's been brilliant. It's absolutely full of
Oh,
people who don't know their left from their right, can't, can't.
but
I mean, some
the
of them
joy is
can keep
there.
a beat, but it's
Yeah.
just all about the lady that runs it. She's just like, I don't care if you're having fun and you're moving your body, we're
Yes.
up for it. Um,
Yes.
and we laugh and we all go in the wrong directions, and it's just immense amounts of joy and
I
fun.
love that.
And I go home like beaming from an
Yeah.
hour of
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
and it's not perfect in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And not to mention
It's
just like
just
the
joy.
community and making friends and like meeting
Oh
people in
yeah,
the village, that's so nice.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
The
I love that.
the I mean, there's people all sorts. So it's quite a big group. The youngest person's probably in their 20s. We're all local, um, but the oldest person is a guy in his 90s,
Love
and
it.
it's just like, and we
Yeah.
got the full spread between the lot. And then afterwards, sometimes we go to the cafe, and sometimes, like you say, it's
Yeah.
community and meeting people,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's really, yeah, we've actually had some lovely connections from that as well. There's a lady there that works as a volunteer at a local animal sanctuary, and
Mm.
so she has arranged like for my guys to go and visit the animals, and it's been been really,
Lovely.
yeah, really lovely, to do that, like you say, that community and that those connections has been great. But like leaning into something that I'm not good at, that I have a
Yeah.
very similar, I wasn't a doctor obviously, but
Yeah.
academically I'm a good
Yeah.
all-rounder. I went to what are perceived to be very good schools.
Yeah.
I did 12 GCSEs, which at the time that I took them was considered to
A
be
lot.
4 more than everybody else was taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did my A levels, I went straight on and did a degree.
Yeah.
I was quite academic. The idea that I would do anything that didn't have some sort of certificate at the end of it,
Right.
or that
Right.
or that I was any good at, like just doing it
Yeah.
because it feels good, like
Yeah.
just because I like being in that place with those people, and
Yeah.
and not having like the idea that I would do anything that wasn't going to
Yeah.
get me a grade A at the end of it
Right. 100%. And
was,
like, and
yeah.
it's that thing, isn't it, of external versus internal validation. Before I was very oriented towards external validation, and someone else outside of myself has to say, you did a good thing, well done, here's a gold star. Like that's what I was seeking, either from my parents, from my teachers, from everyone. Like everyone has to like tell me that I'm good. I didn't have that internal, you're good enough as you are. Like it's fine. As long as you tried your best, that's fine. That wasn't a thing for me. So that's been a journey that I'm still working on, in therapy and everything else, that is like, yeah, no, I have to accept that if I've tried my best and I love it, it doesn't matter if I'm good at it or not, like, then it's worth pursuing. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked a bit about academics and our careers. Both of us seem to
Yeah,
have put aside those careers that we probably put a lot of time and effort
we did. We
into
did.
over the
Yeah.
decades. Um, like you did briefly mention, but are there other things that have that unraveling threads? What other threads have you pulled at that
Yeah.
have
God,
challenged
so
your
many.
long held beliefs? Yeah, so many. I know. Something
Um,
that you feel comfortable sharing.
yeah. Yeah. There's I think the idea that children are in charge of their bodies is a big thing, that I'm not in charge, even though I gave birth to them and I'm their parent. Um, we had a thing, quite a period, maybe last year, where my daughter did not and could not tolerate her hair being brushed at all. And it got quite messy and quite dreadlocky and not in a good way, dreadlocky,
Mm-hmm.
like oh, this is a quite a bird's nest we've got going on. And she just couldn't tolerate it. And it was so hard for me because, especially as like a black woman and having a black daughter, there's a lot, as we know, there's a lot around black women's hair anyway, just society wise, rules, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. But I found myself very worried about what other, particularly black women, would say or think looking at my child and what that means about me. Like my kid's out there with her hair looking crazy, like, but she was happy as Larry. Like she didn't care at all. And that was such a learning curve for me. And, I had all these worries about what other people would think, worries that I was failing her in that teaching her, how to care for her hair, worries that actually, and some of these worries were rooted in reality. Like, we had, sadly, despite our best efforts to kind of really affirm her and raise her in a way where she was proud of, who she was and where she came from. We live in an area where most of our neighbors are either Asian, like from China, India, or white, and their hair is dead straight. Like, so that was despite all the books, and we do have some black friends, but like not in our immediate area. So what she was seeing every day is all these girls with hair that does this, when they shake it. And and that was not her experience. And then of course they're watching, I don't know, Frozen and all the films, and this is what the standard of beauty is. And she would say things like, I wish my hair was straight, and just God, that was like a gut punch to me. And so I just had to really sit with that and be like, yeah, I mean, your hair isn't going to do that, babe. And we went through a stage where she was wearing a wig. She asked for a wig, and I was like, I wanted to say hell no, but I did get her a wig because she wanted it, and I just wanted her to work through it, whatever it was that she was going through. I wanted to be able to support her while she worked through it. So she had that for a couple of months. And then, sure enough, just by waiting and supporting her, she's like, I don't want this anymore. And there's like, actually, I do want you to, can you comb my hair? Because I want it to look like this, and I want this braid, and I want that. I was like, oh, thank God. but like I had to sit through it. It was so hard, honestly. And I look back at pictures from that time now, and still it, it brings up so much. But the other alternative was that I could have said, no, sit down, be quiet. I am going to comb your hair. It looks awful and you can't go out like that. And what will people think? And, and so I had to actively avoid that, even though that was my inner gut instinct. And I guess that was the inner voice that had been told to me as a child, is that your hair needs to look a certain way. So yeah, that was just a real success story. So I still look back on that and think, oh yeah, no, we did the right thing. Like, support your kids, be with them where they're at, meet them where they're at, and support them and let them work through it. And they'll usually come out the other side, like, having tried all the things. If I'd have not let her try the wig or not let her try the thing, then she would have just wanted it forever and resented me for not listening to her and doing what she wanted. And so, yeah, she came through it. She realized, oh, actually, it doesn't actually look that good, does it? Like, at first, she was like loving, she was just bouncing her hair like this. And it wasn't even a dead straight wig either. It was a big curly wig. It was like $10 on Amazon or something. And she was just I think she just wanted to try that out and see how that feels. And like, oh, what would it be like if my hair did this? She's got really tight coils. She started with the bigger curls when she was young. And then as she's got older, they've gone into coils. So her hair is long, but you have to kind of pull it like this, to really like much tighter than yours. That's how
I was gonna say, just but I'm pinging a coil for those on the listening on the podcast. It's just the one very tight one I have at the front. I do have curly hair all over. I don't just have one coil. But it's very tight. But bless her. I mean, I love there that what you did was individuated what she was feeling and thinking about a thing from what you were thinking and feeling about it. Because sometimes we get so we can kind of transfer our thoughts and feelings about whatever it happens to be, onto our children, but actually to own how we are thinking and the thoughts we're having and the worries we're carrying and own them as ourselves and work through those as an individual rather than transfer that onto our children.
Her ideas were very different to mine. So no, that worked
but
out
even
well.
not allowing, I don't like to say allowing, but recognizing that our, like you were saying, actually, that our children's bodies are theirs. Like that's their thought, that's their feeling, and they are within their, I'm going to say right within, they to have those, and to work through those, and for us to come alongside and support them isn't, like you say, like sometimes it can really go against everything we really want to say, and have to really work hard at doing that and coming alongside.
And when she's saying, well, how do I look, Mum, in my wig? And I'm like, oh, it looks great, babe. And inside I'm like, why? but and she did look cute, don't get me wrong, but it was, for me, it was the internal thoughts of, oh, what is she only happy now because she has hair that isn't hers, and does she hate herself? That was the root of my worries, was, does my kid hate themselves? And that made me sad and upset.
There's the idea in unschooling about being able to learn something for yourself, like not taking away the moment where a child learns something for themselves. And quite often we sort of apply that thought to teaching them. Like if I teach them something, or attempt to teach them something, because we could talk about that, but anyway, if I attempt to teach them something, we rob them of the chance to learn that for themselves, and it actually has a much deeper meaning and a deeper connection when they are, when they come across that idea in their own world, and they're making sense of it in the context of their world. But it can be applied to this as well, like to give them the chance to explore that and to figure that out for themselves, because now she's come to that conclusion that she has made in her own time and in her own way, and that I think that's really precious. So this is the part where I'm gonna tell you about the Unschooling Village Hub. I wonder if that's something that you've heard of yet. It's a membership group I run for community, but also inspiration and peer support. Members get access to regular teaching and coaching workshops, self-care sessions, because taking care of you is really vitally important to your unschooling, and lots of practical resources for unschooling in your family. It's packed with value, events, and compassion. The best bit is it's only £20 a month with no ongoing contract. You can simply stay as long as you need us. You can find out more by checking out the link in the podcast description, or heading over to the website liveplaylearn.org and sign up there. And we very much look forward to welcoming you into the Unschooling Village Hub. We're here for you wherever you are on your unschooling journey. And now, more from the podcast.
Yeah, and not to mention the sensory side of it. Like, that was huge for her. It was just really painful to have her hair like brushed out like that. Like it's to comb out all the tangles and everything. The longer we left it, the worse it got. And in the end, we had to do a big chop of a lot of the stuff. We couldn't get to it. And then she knew that was, the deal, and she was happy with that. But then she did still want long hair. So that kind of gave her a new determination to be like, okay, well, we need to do it regularly. She realized that to get to her goal where she wanted to get to, she was going to have to do certain things. So now, like, it's always still usually a negotiation, but she has this longer term goal in mind that is hers and that came from her, that we're working towards. So she's better able to tolerate, and we get the iPad and we do all things, and we leave the conditioner in for ages, and so there's just like systems that we've developed to make it work for her.
Yeah, definitely. We've had similar. So one of my children had a similar experience with hair. Like he wouldn't brush his hair, and he was probably about 8 or 9, and he definitely had the dreads, but like the matted, big mass nest at the back of his head. And it had to come from him when he was ready to, and we similarly literally cut it out. And I don't think he's had his hair cut since, and he's now 16. But my older two, my older two have very, very long hair. Like it's down, to their waist. They're now 17 and 16. And they have this really long hair down to their waist. And they're both male. And it wasn't particularly a challenge for me, but actually them going out into the world, it's interesting to see people's reactions. Like my eldest in particular, so many times he's been referred to as female in some way or other, like when he's at the checkout at the supermarket. I can think of once, or when people bump into him and they say, "Oh, sorry, miss," and he's like so exasperated. But then we had this experience on the tube where we were in London. We were all traveling on the tube, and there were a group of Sikh males on the tube. Oh my gosh, they absolutely lavished on my boys and were just like, "Oh, your hair is so amazing, it's grown so well, it looks so good, it's so beautiful." And it was I mean, they talk about that now, like this one experience where other males were kind of affirming their hair. And they're not, I mean, that's how they choose to wear it, and they love it, and that's what they want to do. But we have now got to a stage where they do both brush their hair every day. And it's not dreaded, it's not knotted. But they've got their, those are their decisions that they've made. About how they want to look and how they want to take care of themselves. And then we have my 13-year-old who is currently, she does have long hair, finds hair washing very difficult, and we are currently going through this process where she wants to wash her hair, but at the moment we're going through, right, how can we do this so that you can tolerate it? So she has this goal that she wants to wash it, but at the same time she finds the process of washing it incredibly difficult. So we're going through the, like, what different smells of shampoo do you like, and what different hairbrushes do you like, and is it better if we do this in the morning, or do you want to do it in the does the time of day make a difference in terms of how you're feeling, how tired you are? So we're going through this experimentation, I guess, at the moment about how to make this goal that she has, because she wants her hair to be clean. But how can we make that possible in a way that's, gentle on you and peaceful and
And what a great kind of thing to model, isn't it? I think that our kids will then have the experience of that process of like finding what feels good to you, and not just doing it because someone said so, or forcing down whatever feelings you have about something to just get it done. That's the funny thing, isn't it? Of like people sending, not hating on people that send their kids to school, but like this idea that you send them to school where it's conform is the norm, and then expecting them when they're 18 to be like free thinkers and let me just do this. What? I mean, that's not going to work, is it? Because they've had no practice at all.
Right.
Like in doing their, like finding out what feels good for them, or, oh, why should I do that? Reasoning through like, oh, why did I make that decision? Or, well, actually, let me just change course because that doesn't feel good. Let me try this. There's no space for that,
Or even the process of making a decision. Like it's, that whole process of 12 years of the decisions that you are making are very restricted and fed with a lot of, I'm going to say expectation, but like, I mean, we kind of started off with the idea that, if I do X, Y, and Z in school and I get great grades, that I will have a successful adulthood. But you're kind of being fed the whole time that actually you need to do things that you're good at, not do things you enjoy. So even the choices that you're making are surrounded by ideas that you have been fed during that process. You haven't had practice at making choices. And when you do make a choice as an 18-year-old that maybe has been through the school system, and it's a wrong choice, a choice that doesn't go well or the way that you want it to, you then carry massive amounts of guilt and shame around that choice. Whereas my children don't really carry guilt and shame around the choices that they make. It's just part of the process of, oh, that didn't work out. I'll learn from that, and I'll try something else instead.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different scenario.
Yeah.
Another
thing
choice making
that we've kind of another idea, I guess, that I've had to unravel was the idea that unschooling would solve everything, or that we'd have no issues. Just the idea of like, oh, if we just remove them from school, then all those things that school has will be gone. And it's like, oh wait, actually no, all those things that school has are also out in the world. So this idea of kind of like intersectionality, not race, gender, all these things that are, ableism, are still in the world, and they're also still in us. Like they're still part of the conditioning that we as the parents have gone through. So there's just a lot there that I've had to kind of unravel. And this idea of obviously all of us kind of being neurodivergent, we talk about unmasking a lot, and our kids have never really had to mask. Like, so it's beautiful to see them in their kind of natural state. Whereas my husband and I are doing a lot of work about kind of getting rid of that mask, but then also realizing that, oh, we're also Black. And so actually there is a mask that we do need to have for our own safety, especially living here in the States. Like it can literally be life or death. So like just the other day, a Latino autistic boy was shot 9 times by police. He was like having a meltdown in the front garden or something and had a knife. The police arrived within 14 seconds, shot him 9 times, and he's had his leg amputated now. Luckily, he's still alive. But like that is the reality that we're living in, of like, my kids can't just go out and be free. We go to, our local homeschool park day. We've got lots of unschoolers, and, I have friends that are white and all their kids are like blonde hair and blue eyed. And I know that their kids could do things that my kids could never do, despite the freedom of us being, unschoolers, and our kids are free. It's like, well, no, I have to, have the talk, or the ongoing talks, with my kids about safety. And actually, you might not be able to be your whole unmasked, autistic self in public all the time, because that might get you killed, or that might get you shot. And it's a very sad thing to have to kind of live with that. But again, being here in leading the life that we are allows us to have those conversations and literally put those things into practice, and have, when we're out in the world, or when we're like watching documentaries, or, and race comes up, we can just stop and have those talks about, oh, why do you think that's happened, or why do you think that character might be going through that? And these are conversations that I hope a lot of my white friends are having with their kids, but I sense that they're not. And that's just the society that we live in, that most of my white friends can get away with not dissecting everything, because they don't have that deep-seated fear for the lives of their children that we have, so that's another huge thing. And another reason that we unschool is not so that we can protect them from those systems, but so we can expose those systems, because school will pretend that those things aren't real. Or especially now with everything we're living in, the situation over here right now. So they're literally like denying everything and burning books and getting rid of books. And so the conversations that were just starting to be had after 2020 are now like, oh yeah, no, actually scratch all that. It's not real. It's not true. Everyone's the same. Everyone's equal. Yet autistic brown children are being shot, within 14 seconds of the police arriving on scene. So there's that. We're living with that reality as well.
Comes back to the idea that these things are all linked, though, that yes. You just mentioned they're like schools, they're perpetuating all the other systems as well. It's all interlinked. All the systems. Yeah. I can't think of one that's not. All the systems are perpetuating each other. They're all linked. So when we talk about unraveling things and pulling on a thread and it all being linked to another thread and another thread, that's because all these things are the intersectionality of all the things. And for one family might be, or one person, unschooling parent might pull on the thread and it leads to one thing first and then another. Like, so we're all kind of unraveling different things at different times, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think the other thing is, because we're having to have those brutal conversations, like, it's even more important to me that they have a soft place to land and be safe at home, right? So this idea of like, I was certainly raised with, you're going to have to get 11 out of 10, but if everyone else gets 10, you need 11 because you're black and you're mixed, or so this I've had to kind of deliberately not say that kind of thing to my kid. Like, no, actually, you're fine. Like, you try your best and that's fine. Like, this idea of like, you have to be exceptional to be the one that, to be accepted, and to get a seat at the table. It's like, no, I'm not interested in that table. It's fine. So yes, we'll have these brutal conversations, but also you 7 out of 10 is great. If you tried your best, do that. And I love you still, like that, to have a soft place to land, to not just have to have those conversations and then, oh, you're on your own. Okay, back to school, go and do French now, or go and do this. It's like, no, we can we have those conversations and we just like sit with it and feel through, and then an hour later, my son might come back and ask a question about it, or, just have time to think about it and mull it over and feel what that feels like, is really important.
I love that idea. I have got another podcast episode with Adele Jarrett Kerr, and I can't remember what it's called, but she talks
I recently listened
there.
To that one. I loved it.
Oh, did you?
Great,
Oh, okay. Because she talks in there about this idea of us being a soft place. I don't know if that's the term she uses, but instead of replicating systems, instead of kind of mirroring those systems in the home so that our children are used to them when we send them out, like to move away from this idea that we should be so punishing our children in the homes and getting them used to the hierarchy and someone has power over you and you need to sit and listen and do what they say, and instead of replicating those systems within the home so that they're prepared for them outside of the home, actually being a soft space for our children, and our family experience is one of neurodivergence, for our children to be able to run around in their pants at home and have a bird's nest and cry when they need to cry and land on the floor when they need to land on the floor and play with things that others might consider to be outside of their age bracket or whatever, a place where they can be comfortable and be themselves, and be loved through all of the various different aspects of that presentation, is really important, and an important part of unschooling, as well, for us to be that soft place. I love that idea. I was going to ask you something, but I can't remember what it was. My brain has unraveled. Maybe it's not uncommon.
I had a couple of other notes down, just like one word things that other things.
Go for it. I'd love to.
Just my ideas around screens and gaming. Both my kids are big gamers, big Minecrafters. I know this is always a hot topic, isn't it? With
definitely
with unschoolers and kids in general. And that I love what they get out of screens. But we're now just recently actually having to, reiterate conversations that we've already had and kind of put in place some boundaries actually around kind of safety. Because there's been a couple of incidents now. We've had to kind of work with them to put in place some rules around how they can be on Roblox, say, safely, because the internet is a wild place. I wouldn't send my kid out into, go and walk down the street 2 miles down there and hang out with whoever and just come back when you're ready. It's like, no, I wouldn't do that in real life. So I'm not going to do that online either. And I think there was a point where, they had a lot of freedom. And I think we were catching up. They're just so far ahead of us. They learn and pick up these things so quickly that we weren't necessarily sure or understanding fully who had access to them and things like that. And I think that's so important. So we've kind of recently just had to kind of restrict, you can play in private servers, for example, with people that in real life, no problem. Stay there all day, it's fine. But to be in public servers with chat turned on, is not something that we're going to do. So,
yeah,
just things like that, just working together with them, and they don't always like it. And we have these conversations. They say, "Oh, but I'll be safe," and it's like, but it's not you. It's not you that I don't
yeah.
trust. Like yeah, I fully trust you, but like the internet's wild, man. There's just some crazy people out there, and actually, thankfully, a lot of the content that they watch on YouTube and stuff, some of that is around internet safety, and there are quite a few creators that they watch, none of whom I can think of right now, but that talk to them about staying safe online and stuff like that. So I would, if anyone else is going through that, and I'm sure they are, because this is such a common thing that comes up, I would just say it's been quite helpful to kind of find content creators, people, sometimes kids will believe their favorite YouTubers more than they believe you,
Oh,
even though they're doing
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
exact same thing, to find them saying it about safety and how important it is to keep your stuff private and all of that.
We have so similar, like we have things in place, conversations, open conversations for one, kind of being aware of what my children are doing online.
Mm-hmm.
And my younger two in particular have got quite a strong friendship group. So we have like a little WhatsApp group of the parents of, the kids
Yeah.
In their friendship group. And that has been invaluable for lots of things. But one of them has been, when one of them did accidentally join a WhatsApp group, that then, suddenly they were all part of this massive WhatsApp group and there were things going on it that weren't very pleasant.
Beautiful.
And it has been, and as soon as one of the parents became aware, they were kind of like, oh, you need to, you guys, do you know that, my child's on this, or they've now started playing this new game. And it's that has been useful in itself, that connection um between the adults. I remember an instant when my eldest was about 14, and he he got someone slid into his DMs on a social media, and like he was a 14-year-old boy, and he just came down to the kitchen and went, me and my husband were both in the kitchen, and he kind of just waved his phone at us and went, "What's this? I don't know what to do with this." And and I was like, "Oh, okay, yes, you're right. It's not one of your friends. Yes, it's a bit of a red flag." And my husband kind of leant over the kitchen counter with him and said, "Right, this is how you block people. Yes, you're right. It's a red flag. I can tell it's a red flag because of this and this and this, and this is what you do and how you do it." And I can remember in that moment thinking, oh my gosh, how many other 14-year-old boys would be like coming to their parents and saying, I don't understand what this is, or I don't feel comfortable about this, or this is weird.
Exactly. You're the first port of call that's trusted. You've shown yourself to be trustworthy over all these years and help them through when things are hard or a bit embarrassing or a bit, and it's like, so that means that you're the one that they'll come to, and that's honestly all I want. Like, everyone's going to have problems and troubles in their lives, but I just hope that you can trust me to come to be,
Yeah. I think that's kind of like you were saying about, unschooling doesn't fix all the all the problems.
Stuff,
no, not even slightly. We could talk about that for like a whole hour. But to be able to navigate those things together and to kind of just, like you say, be that port of call, be a trustworthy person in their lives, is that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. I'm going to ask you one last question, which is, I'm going to have to think about how to phrase it, and I'll probably still get it wrong.
Okay.
It's a question about oh, I'm really stuck.
Be brave. Be brave.
I'm trying to find the words to put it into a question.
Okay.
Are you happy that you've done all this unraveling? That's the question. Would you do it again? Or would you go, wow, I really opened Pandora's box, shove it all back in, go back to my go back to how things were?
Oh yeah, no, I think it's a bit of a matrix red pill, blue pill thing. Like, yeah, I'll take the red pill
Yeah.
still, even though it's hard, even though it's painful, even though it exposes you to like, some brutal truths about yourself, about the world, society, the way you were raised, mistakes your parents made, things your parents did well, like, it's all good. It's all for the better, you know, for the greater good, I should say, and it will serve future generations well. It's so hard. It's so hard to be the one that's doing the unraveling. And it's lonely and you can feel isolated and like, oh, everyone else seems happy. Everyone else seems to have it together. So yeah, I mean that I won't lie and say I don't feel like that sometimes. I do for sure. It would be easier to just be on the blue pill and happy and
Yeah.
but someone said another thing that we haven't even touched on is that I'm now kind of moving towards death work a lot. I just finished a death doula course. So that's something that I think I will be moving towards as potentially a career. And one of the things my teacher there, the main teacher, is a death doula called Ayla Arthur. She's based in LA. And on the course, many times she said, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something like, you're only able to meet other people as deeply as you've met yourself. So it's like, I feel like my ability to connect to other people and the level on which I can connect and just kind of be in community with other people is much deeper because of this work that I've done, because of all that unraveling and exploring and asking questions of myself has made me more tolerant. And I kind of don't like that word tolerant. I just mean like more open-minded, because I've had to kind of look at my own internalized racism, my own internalized ableism, my own, and ask questions of things, or why am I vegan, or why am I, and once you have those surer answers in yourself, you're also, it doesn't necessarily mean that you think everyone else has to be like that. It's just like you're more affirmed and sure of the choices that you've made. Um, and so that, and hopefully you can meet other people that have done that same work. Hopefully. I find that you kind of tend to draw people to you that are, doing similar stuff. And I think that's the same. A lot of people in unschooling are doing a lot of this work, not necessarily the same, exploring the same isms, but we're question askers and we're like, it's a bit of a rebellious thing to do what we're doing. I think sometimes it can be like so normal to us that it's invisible and we don't realize what a huge thing it is that you've done. Like to step outside of that education system is huge, but like it's just so normal to us. Like when you first asked me to be on this podcast, and actually even when I was on that panel, I was like, and that was a panel about unschooling neurodivergent kids, and I at first I had to sit down and be like, what do I even do? Like it's
Yeah.
so invisible to me. The things that we do every day. Oh,
Yeah.
we have a trampoline in our living room. Yeah, of course we do. That's normal. Obviously,
Yeah.
doesn't everyone have a trampoline in their living room?
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, they don't, but that's just, it's so invisible the way that you live. It's a big thing, and I think, yeah, we kind of attract each other in the community, and then it better equips you, I think, to meet other people outside and engage with people and find things in common with people because you've done that work and you've explored that stuff in yourself. So it just gives you lots of little other threads to pull on with people,
Yeah, I
not
was going to say
necessarily.
that idea as well,
Yeah.
that you're then in contact with other people who are pulling at different threads and exploring different ideas and curious about different ways of doing things and different systems, innovative systems, and
Yeah.
how all that stuff. Are like, well, if we're not, if we're having if we're questioning our internal ableism, right, well, hang on, what questions are we asking, and how are we having these discussions with our children? And
Yeah.
yeah, that community where you kind of keep going with other people
Yeah.
who keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you need like someone else to give you a bit of a nudge because even with all this work, you can still have areas where subconsciously you're too afraid to even, I can't, no, can't, I've got to lock that away. No thanks. Or someone else might, be that person that starts pulling that thread for you. It might not even be you. Someone else might say, ask you just a pointed question. You're like, I don't know. I'm not ready to look at that yet, but that's what community is supposed to be.
Or even like kind of observing somebody else doing that journey in that path, like just kind of watching somebody else. So like maybe the veganism thing, like watching somebody else going through the process and exploring that themselves and coming to something that they currently feel comfortable with. Even if that's not something you're doing yourself, just being in a place where you kind of observing other people or that is happening around you.
And that idea that it's okay to change your mind too. It's okay to go somewhere else. It's like, that felt really good for that season. Right now it doesn't. Now I need something else, That's okay too.
That is okay too. And I'm going to end on kind of the idea that we don't end. Like there isn't like a point where we go, yes, we have all the answers. We've solved all the problems. We've got this ultimate, the ultimate answer, and we're done, and we're kind of living in this idyllic way. But actually, I can't see that question asking, that exploring, that going deeper, like actually ending. Like there's going to be always more to.
And maybe bringing it back to the woolly jumper, maybe the whole point is just the making of it, and maybe we start knitting another jumper with the same threads or different threads, and then that one comes unraveled and it's like, okay, that was nice. It's about appreciating it in the moment, isn't it? And then if you need to unravel it again, that's okay. This idea that you have to have a finished product and it's got to be perfect, and then only then will you be happy. It's like, no, there's great joy in unraveling, there's great joy in re-knitting and trying a different idea and doing that. And I guess that's just to tie it up nicely with a bow.
Nicely with a bow. If only all things were that simple, that we could tie them up nicely.
I know.
With a bow. Thank you so much for coming and chatting on the podcast. It's been really, really lovely to have you, and thank you for agreeing. Although you didn't know you were the first guest on my new season, thank you for agreeing and being here. It's been